We have 161 River Avenue onto the channel today. We're going to be discussing Yankees offseason and a couple of topics that we have in mind. So first, thank you for coming on and doing this. It means a lot.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So the first thing is, why would the Yankees release Tyler Wade ahead of Chris Gittens? And why wouldn't have a full 40-man roster going into the CBA if you're not going to sign a player?
I was puzzled by that too. I don't really know why. Maybe I'm guessing that they were planning on signing a player and it just did not happen before the CBA ended. So that's my only guess. But even before that, I would have not released Wade before Gittens under any circumstances. I would have released Gittens first over Wade, even though at some point Gittens did request to be released after the CBA. Now he's going to be playing in Japan, but I think it created a little bit of a jam either way. I would have kept Wade because of his versatility and speed and his base running acumen, and he was a good, affordable player that served a lot of the Yankees' needs. So I didn't really understand the logic behind releasing him to begin with, particularly now since Chris Taylor's not available. He's went back to the Dodgers, and they're going to have to pay somebody a lot more to do the same exact things for Tyler Wade that he was doing at league minimum with 3 years of team control left before he was a free agent.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have minor league options, which is probably why they didn't want to hold on to him. But I think, like, Wade's a good player to have on your team. You know, he's not someone who's going to be shuffling up and down between the minors. You know what you're getting. You're getting a fast, versatile infielder. He also can play outfield. Like, that's a rare thing to get in someone who can play any position on a moment's notice.
And in addition to that, in part-time play, he led the team in stolen bases. He's an elite defender. So, and he's probably the best base runner on the team. So, he's the type of guy that we need. And I mentioned a lot, these situations a lot recently where you need people like that on base, because if you have a contact hitter behind them, let's just say Tyler Wade's at first and DJ comes up and hits a double, Tyler Wade's more than likely going to score, whereas somebody like Judge or Stanton's going to be stuck at third. And that's the difference. One of the differences that Tyler Wade makes. And he runs great routes, whether on the bases or in the outfield, and he's an elite defender in both positions. So, to me, I think they're going to feel the loss of Tyler Wade, and I don't know how they're going to replace his versatility, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think he got quite lucky at the plate, but still, let's say it's like the seventh inning of a game, and you know that Stanton's only going to have, say, one more at bat or something, and he hits a double, and now he's standing on second base. Well, perfect. You just throw in Wade there to pinch run for him. Have one of the best base runners in the league, as you said. And then he can play the outfield. It's not his primary position, but he can play it as well as Stanton can. And also, gives him some rest. You're winning by a lot. You have versatility to substitute players and give them extra rest if it's just, we're blowing them out this game. So I agree.
Yeah. And to add to that, just to compliment what you said is, what you mentioned, and a lot of folks have been critical of Wade's hitting. He's not that hitter or whatnot. He's an average hitter. Well, keep in mind, when you play part-time at the major league level, it's not the same as playing part-time at the high school level. You have to face Max Scherzer, guys like Jacob deGrom, Derek Cole. It is very difficult to hit these guys when you're playing part-time and people expecting your timing to be there. It's really, really difficult to do. But he's done it admirably for the amount of times that he plays, and he's productive every time he's in there. So whether it be on the base paths or with the glove or drawing the walk, which is something that not a lot of Yankees do. So, his value was underrated. Underrated.
A lot of our players just have value with their bats. Like Stanton, primarily the bat. Voit, primarily the bat. Wade, even if the bat failed you, even if he hit around 200, he was still going to play a good defense, still have elite speed on the bases. That's something you're not going to be able to recover from.
Exactly. And, even when I was growing up, too, you guys like Luis Sojo, Jose Vizcaino, not sexy hitters, but these guys came through when the Yankees needed them to come through, whether it be on the plate or clutch base hit or a bunt or a great catch in the field. Wade was that type of guy. He did the little things that not a lot of the other players did.
Yeah, and
so.
Sorry, you touched on
No,
this a little earlier, but we released Gittins after releasing Wade. It's one of the things I've had issues with this team. Like, we're doing the little stuff wrong this offseason. Why not wait on Wade? And you didn't even have to release him. If you're at 40 men, you're perfect. You don't need to be at 39 going into the CBA expiring. Like, why? It just seems that they're missing on big free agents. They've also missed a lot of the minor moves. There's this stuff that you can be really critical on because the big stuff, you never know. Oh, were they about to sign Seager and then he got an extra year? But with the minor stuff, it's a lot easier to judge, and I feel like the Yankees have disappointed there.
and two things on that too. Like you said, and I've said this too recently that they've created more holes by releasing these guys and putting guys on waivers that they had initially. So they're going to have to bring in more depth now. They have lack of depth in the infield and the outfield, and not only are they going to have to pay guys more than they were paying the guys that they already had, but they're going to have to be aggressive right out the gates because a lot of the other teams are going to be doing the same thing where they're going to be scrambling for a smaller group of players. Even though it's a lot of players and some of the big names have been already taken off the board, it's going to motivate teams to get a lot of these role players in. And if you look at the teams that have been successful recently, like the Braves, all those role players that they brought in last year, they were huge in the road to the World Series. When the Yankees were at their best, they had great role players. And they're going to have to be and basically fishing in a smaller pond now and against other teams who are going to be going after a lot of the same guys. So it's going to be a little bit of a different jumbling, but they're going to have to be very aggressive right out the gates. And I don't really know what's going on in Cashman's mind or what his secret business strategy is, but hopefully he's going to do something pretty aggressively. And the other point is with Gittins, the only reason I can think why they may have kept him because he was a backup first baseman was the fear of Rizzo leaving and trading Voit in the trade for somebody and not getting Olsen. So he would have been there as one of the guys to potentially play first base. So I think they kept him around as long as they did for that particular reason because maybe they thought they were going to get an Olsen trade done before the CBA. That's clearly not happening. So and Rizzo still hasn't signed. So there's still no guarantee as to what's going to happen at first base. But the fact is, he asked for his release. He's getting an opportunity in Japan, just like a bunch of other guys now are signing in Japan. And he's going to be playing well. Other guys are not.
I think he's going to rake in Japan. I think he's going to be phenomenal.
He's probably going to hit 50 home runs in Japan. That's what Cecil Fielder, who played with the Yankees in the mid-'90s, did. He played over there and hit 50, and then he came over here, also hit 50, and became a monster with the Yankees. So I wish him well. I mean, it was fun to watch him. It was fun watching his power, but Yankees have a lot more needs as well, so a lot more.
Yeah, and one of those players that we ended up releasing that had that versatility, had that speed, was Greg Allen. I think this plays into the bigger picture here of Aaron Hicks and the issues that he's caused this team. He hasn't been healthy since 2018. And if he's healthy, he's a great player. He's going to put up around 4 WAR, give you good defense, a strong arm, switch hitting bat. But is that $10 million that you're paying him until he's around 36 worth more than the cheap amount you would have had to pay Allen?
No, and some of the issues with Hicks too is that he bulked up so much over was it 2018 and 19. He essentially, it looked like, in my opinion, he wanted to kind of turn into Barry Bonds because Barry Bonds looked like me one day and then he looked like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson a couple years later. He was gigantic, and Hicks kind of got that big too. And I think it made him injury prone. It slowed him down, affected his swing, affected his mobility in the outfield, his ability to run reads and catch balls. So it affected his overall performance. Now, if he's healthy and productive, $10 million a year seems like a bargain with the salaries that some of these other outfielders are making. But that said, I just don't know that he's the answer for the Yankees anymore. But I know he's a Cashman guy. Cashman really liked him. So I think Cashman's motivated to hopefully make this work, but he's not really inspiring many people right now in winter ball. And he's shown that he's healthy, but just don't know. He just looks like a shell of a player that he was before. And I do think, like you said too, it led them to potentially move on from Greg Allen, which would have been he was my pick to be the Yankees' leader and center fielder. Okay, and again for the cheap contract. But he was also an elite base runner. He was versatile as a switch hitter. He did a lot of things that Hicks did, but for pennies on the dollar. And he was a good team, and he was a good on base percentage guy, which the Yankees didn't have a lot of these guys. So he represented, skill set that the Yankees need, as did Tyler Wade. So like if you have Greg Allen leading off, let's say, and then Tyler Wade batting 8th or whatever, you have speed guys kind of spread out in the lineup or batting 7th or whatever it is, and that can cause havoc on the base paths. So you can, I would have let Allen off or Wade or whatever, and then put DJ batting second, give the best contact hitter, and then let the muscle come after that. But I would have utilized Allen's skill set a heck of a lot more than the Yankees did, and I was surprised when they sent him down when he was the hottest guy on the team.
Yeah, well, they had to send him down then, but I know what you mean. Like he would have been great with the team, and I think he's going to make the Yankees pay for not keeping him on the squad. But we also have an issue with the crowdedness of this outfield. Hicks, Stanton, Judge, Gallo. It's a lot of really good outfielders there, but there's only 3 spots to play.
That's true. And Gallo is, I was surprised when they traded for Gallo. I really was, but hopefully he plays well this year. But at the end of the day, I think there needs to be a rotation between those 3 guys in the outfield. First of all, they're gigantic guys, and DH day and an off day. I think each one of those guys should have an off day every week or every 2 weeks, and then a DH day as well to kind of keep them healthy.
Yeah.
So, which gives guys like Tyler Wade and Greg Allen opportunities for regular playing time. So, and that to me would have been great because you could have played those guys. I would rather have Stanton for 130 healthy innings. 130 healthy games with breaks than playing him until he breaks down and then missing 60 games and then missing him when it counts the most, because he is money in the postseason. Money. He's the best hitter in the postseason that the Yankees have. Okay? And those are the types of guys you want to keep them healthy. And having guys like Greg Allen, who could have been utilized in multiple positions, he plays all 3 outfield positions. So we could have used him regularly, had some speed injected into the lineup, some versatility while giving those guys regular rest. So to me, his value, again, served a lot of different layers, just like Tyler Wade. He was kind of the jack of all trades. So I would have not gotten rid of Wade. I would have not gotten rid of Allen. I would have kept both of those guys.
Yeah, they are going to be helpful. You release Gittins. You still have a roster spot. You could have kept him. Could have.
It's crazy because Greg Allen, Tyler Wade, Andrew Velasquez, and even Odor, those 4 guys carried the Yankees when a lot of those guys were hurt or on COVID list or whatever it was. And those 4 guys were also the biggest instrumental pieces for that 13-game winning streak. When they won that 13-game winning streak, these guys were playing regularly, stealing bases and doing all this stuff. When the Yankees had their losing streaks, there weren't any stolen bases, there weren't any on-base percentage. So that skill set was missed when the Yankees were cold, and it was utilized when they were hot. So it's guys like that who represent a lot of value. And my fear is that Odor is going to be value in Baltimore, and Velasquez and Wade are going to be a great value in Anaheim, given guys like Ohtani and Mike Trout and Rendon a break. So whereas now the Yankees are going to have to pay a heck of a lot more for guys to come here to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's just harder to fill those spots for them.
And like Odor, you look at the stats and you go, oh, he's just an okay player, but he had an energy to him. I remember watching a game and they showed a metric of the Yankees record with Odor and without Odor. He had an energy. First one up out of the dugout every time a home run was hit. He brought life to this team when they were just kind of like robots going up there, taking big swings, either hitting a home run or strike out. He played with passion. He played with heart.
You should have given him pom-poms because he was the biggest cheerleader on the team. He really was. And again, the first guy to greet players, and you're right too. He brought an energy that the Yankees haven't had in a while. It was a lethargic lineup before guys like him and Andrew Velasquez, who hustled all the time. Those are the types of guys that really, really make a difference, and they can spark a team, can wake a team. And again, Odor's contributions were underrated because he was inconsistent, but he had some huge home runs. and either brought the Yankees, from under or gave them a lead or whatever it was. He had some huge home runs. So that to me, and the Yankees were paying the league minimum while Texas was paying him $14 million. So the return on investment for the Yankees was 20-fold. And to me, they got great value from him as well. But I also see like them needing to protect guys from the Rule 5 draft, and I get that stuff. But I would have released Kittens. I would have released other guys as well
Yeah.
before certain guys. I understand the logic with Odor and Clint Frazier, but Allen and Wade, I think, were potentially mistakes.
And one of the words you mentioned there was hustle. I think that's a big thing this team is missing. I think that we do need some more speed. I don't think it's as dire as some people do think that it is, but we do need more speed. I mean, we have one of the slowest teams in the game, but hustle is something that, like, even if you're slow and you're hustling down to first base, you're gonna beat the double play because you're putting pressure on the second baseman to make that throw quickly. The amount of times I've seen Stanton and Sanchez just jogging on down to first when I'm going, you beat that. It's the 8th inning. You can't get into another double play. Like, I don't care if you're not fast. You hustle, you're putting pressure on the other team.
Yeah. And again, like you said, too, breaking up a double play. Now you have a guy on first instead of two guys out. And speed is a skill. Hustle is an intangible. All right, hustle makes slow people look fast. Okay, and it really does. And if we had guys like when Joe Girardi was with the Yankees, he was the epitome of hustle. Derek Jeter, hustle. You ever watch Pete Rose? The guy would barrel through a brick wall. He hustled so hard. And that's one of the things I liked about Clint Frazier when he played. He was another hustle player. He would get hurt sometimes because of his hustle. And to me, right now, the hustle guy in baseball is Bryce Harper because he's nuts. He just runs into the walls. He does everything. But I'd rather have guys like that on the team than not have them. So, and that's, the mental lapses are rather evident in the Yankees team, like you said, with Gary Sanchez and some other guys, Gleyber Torres, and hustle can really, really make a difference. And I've seen hustle help the team a heck of a lot more than hurting the team. So, and they do need more of it. They do. They really, really do. They need small ball. They need hustle. They need bunts. They need hit and runs. They need a lot of stuff. And but hustle's definitely something that can make a difference.
And when Sanchez was at his best, when he was, hitting tons of home runs, Joe Girardi was the manager then, and he forced Sanchez to really work for it. He was more of a winning mentality than I think Boone is. Boone just sits there chewing gum, going, we're not winning today. Or, oh, we're winning today. Same emotion, though. At least he felt like you got something with Girardi. And I think that, the Yankees have fallen into this mentality of, oh, we can't have him sprint to first base because he could get hurt. What? No.
These are Major League Baseball players. They have to be able to warm up properly and have to be able to sprint a few times a game. So,
yeah.
It really is. And if you watch a football game, they're sprinting all game. If you watch a soccer game, all game. Basketball, running up and down the court. There is no reason why baseball players can't sprint a few times a game. Absolutely none. And the fact is, and being a former competitive baseball player myself, I kept loose throughout the inning, especially on cold days. You have to stay warm and you have to stay loose. How do you do that? You have to be active. Sitting there doesn't keep you loose. So these guys, they know how to keep themselves loose. And honestly, I'm surprised that so many guys get hurt and so many guys are. I've never seen somebody, strain a calf and miss 4 months. It's a lot of time to miss from a minor injury.
Yeah.
So that's puzzling to me, but they have to be able to stay healthy, whether it's the players or the trainers and whatnot. There's no reason why these guys should not be hustling all the time. None. Honestly.
One of the things you said is staying loose. When Stanton was a DH, every single day and did not play the field for a good couple of months, he wasn't as good as he could have been. When he started playing the field, he talked about, my head's actually in the game now. If I'm struck out and I'm at bat, I'm not focused in on that, and I'm not killing myself because of it. Playing the field, it helps players, and there's a strong evidence towards this. This is what I'm saying. You have to have You have a lot of big guys on your team. Give them DH days to keep them healthy while keeping that bat in the lineup. But keep them in the field. When they're in the field, they're going to do better.
And don't hesitate to bench them if they don't hustle. Take them out
Oh,
of the game immediately. And you're sitting tomorrow, too, for not hustling.
oh,
Like,
exactly.
that's where Joe Girardi, he came in. He was a drill instructor for the United States Marines, like when he came in here. So he had to kind of tone down a little bit, but he's old school, and he got a lot out of players. And Boone's kind of the new school mentality. It's more the analytics. It's more of I sometimes call it the Bronx Country Club instead of the Bronx Zoo. So a combination of Girardi and Boone would be nice, and a little bit of both. And but we haven't found that yet. But I'm hoping that these new coaches bring a new dynamic and are willing to do some things that Boone isn't willing to do. And I always worry whether Boone is kind of hamstrung by Hal and Cashman. I wonder if he's not allowed to do certain things. I don't know. I can't. It's only speculation. But like a lot of other people feel that way too. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to get into your players when they need to. And it doesn't have to be publicly. You don't have to berate them, but you got to get into them. If they're not hustling, get into them in the dugout after the game. And you have to hold them accountable. And it doesn't matter if you make $30 million a year. They have to be held accountable.
Yeah.
So this is major leagues. This is the big time. And these guys are grown men. They can handle it. So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, and I think it's important to understand the more advanced side of baseball, the sabermetrics at play. But at the same time, these are grown men that you're handling with. You have to make sure that they're, focused on the game. You got to have some tough love. If, imagine if Stanton got moved down the order to 7th because he was slumping or something.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to get his attention. He's still going to get paid, but he's going to go, oh, I gotta do better. I gotta do better and get back up in that batting order.
Yeah.
I think that the Yankees need a little bit more tough love on this team.
Well, exactly. There's no metric for hustle.
Yeah.
There's no for just hunger and desire. There's not a metric. That's intrinsic. It comes from within. So, and there needs to be, I think, a collective mentality of we're the underdogs and we're kind of the Rocky Balboas here, and we need to fight. This is why I appreciate Bill Belichick so much, because even though I'm a Jets fan, I can't stand the Patriots, but he acts as if they're not winning anything every year, and he gets so much out of his players, whether it's Tom Brady or not. He sets that mentality where he demands the best all the time, and there's nothing less than that's acceptable. And I think a same stand. This is the New York Yankees, so this isn't like the Toledo Mudhounds. Like, this is the Yankees. So, and to be honest, the standard should be the highest here in the Bronx, and no excuses. And that's just the way. That's the way George Steinbrenner. That's why they have a facial hair policy. It's militaristic, but he set standards, and he was not afraid to get into players. We have guys now who are just very hesitant to get into players, and again, I think that needs to be part of the culture here. And that's why I appreciate guys like Odor. I appreciate guys like Garrett Cole, who are absolute gamers. You see, just Roger Clemens. I just saw fire coming out of their nostrils when they're on the mound, because they're into it 100%. They're bulldogs.
Max Scherzer,
he doesn't like being touched by his own teammates. He's a fire breathing, like a dragon, like a bull. So, and we need more of those guys. We really do. And I do think it's an important intangible to have on every team. And the best teams generally have that, guys. And it's not always blatant. It's not always crazy, but they have a hunger. They have a hustle. They have this collective unity with them that the Yankees don't have enough of, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like at the start of the season, the mentality was kind of, oh, we're going to make it to the playoffs, so we have to make sure everyone's nice and rested, give people days off. It's going to be all right. Slow start. It will even out. The mentality needs to be win every single game until you've clinched it to the playoffs, and even then, until you've clinched the number 1 spot in your division. Only then can you start saying, okay, let's make sure that, let's focus on making sure our players aren't, breaking down or anything, but, the mentality of just win every single game is something that this team's missing.
Foot on the gas all the time. Let the trainers do their jobs. Let the coaches do their jobs. and give guys regular rest so that they can constantly put their foot on the brakes. So regular rest is important because it keeps people healthy. But that when you're playing, it's got to be foot on the throttle all the time, and not stopping until the mission is accomplished.
Exactly.
And and that's I wish I saw more of it in baseball. I really do. That's why I appreciate guys like Bryce Harper and Joe Girardi and guys like that, because they're gamers all the time. They're absolute gamers, and just teams need gamers, and the Yankees need more gamers here. So they have a couple. Cole to me is the gamer on the team. Like you could tell, like he just let him do his thing. So he's the guy here. But we need an offensive gamer too. We need a couple of guys here are going to. That's why I like Trevor Story, because he's a hustle guy, and we need guys that hustle, that play versatile, that just play hard all the time. So, and that's the indicative of the Bronx Bomber mentality. If you have guys that do that on a regular basis, then he starts to remind you of what the Yankees can be and what they should be. So, and that's just coming from a longtime Yankee fan too. It's just, and when you watch them play, you could tell whether they're hustling or not hustling. You could tell whether they're into it or not into it. And I'd much rather, and Joe, was it Joe DiMaggio, I think said it when, you only have one chance to make a first impression. So, and would you rather make a good one or not a good one? So, there's somebody coming in for the first time with their kids, and I want to see my favorite player play well and hustle. And that to me is something that always sticks. So, and I think they would do well to adopt a mentality like that on a regular basis.
And I feel like also the younger players, they have that mentality. You see the guy who's getting older, it's guaranteed $20 million, and he's going, well, this is, I'm making $20 million no matter what. We're probably not going to make it. The young players are going, okay, I have to play, I have to perform, I have to win. And we need that. We need that desperately.
It's like Glaber. Look, Volpe's going to take your spot. He's going to take it. Like
he's the real deal.
Yeah, and then we're going to trade you and send you to wherever. Like it's just, to me, it's like we don't want to, but like if he surpasses you, he surpasses you. Like guys like Volpe need to basically get to the point where Vlad Guerrero and Juan Soto, where they're forcing you to play them because they're so good. Like, you can't possibly keep this guy down anymore. So guys like Volpe, Oswald Peraza, Oswaldo Cabrera, like these guys are breathing down your neck, guys. So, and you have the opportunity here, or they're going to take it from you. Like it's, and the younger guys who aren't on these long-term deals should be aware of that. Really should be, because Volpe looks special. He keeps playing the way he's a gamer. So he's the type of guy we need up here.
Yeah.
And I hope he gets a chance to do it. So I really do.
The guys in the majors, they have to be a little bit scared. The prospects in the farm that might take over their jobs. They can't just be sitting back thinking it's guaranteed.
If you watch these AA and AAA Yankees teams, they are hungry. Hungry to get to the top. So that's the same. I mean, that would be the bullseye's on my back. I got to keep going here. I got to keep going. I can't let this kid take my spot. So, but that also needs to be, I think, promoted by the coaches and everybody else at the team, too. Like, we are the major leagues. We have to play like we're the major league team here.
Yeah.
So expectations are high. And if we play our best and we lose, okay. But, if there are things that could have been prevented and we lost, then this is where we need to make changes. And they have to not be afraid to make changes. But they also have to give the young kids an opportunity. And, if you're going to call up a kid for a week and he hasn't really adapted yet, that's not enough of a chance. You have to keep him here for a month or so to give the kid a chance to actually adapt. Like Luis Hill, he was up here went 5-0, had a 0 ERA, but then he sent him down. Why would you do that? I would never send somebody down who's red hot. It just doesn't make any sense. I let the starters force their way back onto the lineup. So that's my mentality. It's got to be that way. I'm not taking a hot player out. There's no way. Even if he's a rookie. No, sir.
Yeah,
no.
That's a good mentality to have.
Yeah. It's old school, but it's effective.
Yeah. So, if a new CBA is reached, what do you think the Yankees should be doing right now? It's let's say tomorrow morning we find out offseason is back on. You can sign players. We've seen a lot of players go off the board, but there's still a lot of talent there. We're talking semi-realistic here, but what are you going to do if you could?
If I'm Brian Cashman, I'm not taking the phone off my face until I'm bringing in some guys. I would find a way to see if they could sign Seiya Suzuki to a minor league contract right now.
Oh, yeah. Wait.
Get him here, right? It's not a major league deal. And then you promote him when the season starts. Just get him here now. You can sign him to a minor league deal. Big money, whatever it is. And then you just bring him up. It's just it's outside the box thought, but I was thinking about this earlier. If somebody has the ability, or if it's doable, somebody's going to probably do it. So for a guy like that, he's an international player, and I get like they're going to wait until they figure out what the salary parameters are and the thresholds, and then the Cashman will have a better idea of what Hal's comfort levels are. But one of the things that is noticeable about the Yankees with regards to their salary, they haven't had the highest payroll in baseball since 2013. Okay, that's 8 years. They are by far the richest franchise every single year. But their payroll is becoming a smaller part of their revenues every year. So if their payroll was at still 50% of their revenues, their payroll would be like $300 million, something like that. If it grew along with their revenues, but it's not. But I would be going after Suzuki, Trevor Story, and working my butt off to trade for Matt Olson, and a pitcher from Oakland A's. If you can execute those three moves, it would change a lot of what the Yankees look like.
Yeah. So the Suzuki one, I know that there's a cap. I'm like pretty certain that there's a cap for how much you can pay a minor league player. But I'm sure that you could like give him a signing bonus or something. Say, hey, this is pretty much your salary. But yeah, that'd be crazy. It
would kind of be a creative way of bringing him here now.
Yeah. So
I don't know if it's actually possible, but I was thinking about this earlier. And like, somebody day one, I would hate to hear Boston is signing, say, Suzuki or Tampa Bay. Like, I would if I had any hair, I'd be pulling it out. So, and that's gonna be my nightmare. So if I were the Yankees, I would figure out a way to get him here as soon as possible. But if you have to wait, you have to wait. But he'd be one of the first calls I would be making.
Yeah.
What do you want? I want you here. 5 years, 10 million. Let's get the contract signed here. And then it also opens up flexibility to move Sanchez if they want. Aaron Hicks if they want. If he proves to be healthy, he'll be easier to move, right? And that's why I have so many trade proposals with catchers as well, because we have no replacement for Gary Sanchez, whether it be this year or next year. So those are the two of the major, kind of holes I would be addressing. And I would try my darndest to get Matt Olson here in a pitcher. But if they can't, there's still some guys that they could do. But Olson's kind of my first guy. But if you think about it this way too, let's say Suzuki makes $50 million, right? 5 years, $10 million. Let's say Story makes 5 years, $25 million per, 125. That's 175. And then you get Matt Olson here. He's making $10 million a year, whatever, for 2 next years. So you're under $200 million. You just got 3 guys and maybe a pitcher as well, maybe 4 guys, and you're still paying almost $100 million less than you would Carlos Correa. So and that's why getting guys to address, because Carlos Correa only plays one position at one time. He doesn't address other positions at all. Neither does an extension for Aaron Judge. Judge plays one position. The Yankees have, 6 positions they need to fill? And they have to be smart about how to do it. Now, if they get Correa, okay. But I don't think he's going to be twice as valuable as somebody like Trevor Story. Or twice as productive as Trevor Story. So, and again, if I can get Trevor Story and Seiya Suzuki here, I'm choosing that over Carlos Correa by himself.
Yeah. I mean, you could sign Trevor Story and Carlos Rodon, and that's probably the amount that Correa is going to cost you. That's probably what I would do. I mean, I'm getting Matt Olson. Voit, if Oakland's going to see the appeal for Voit. Going to have to maybe give up Luis Gil or Oswald Peraza, but that's part of the game. You get Olson, he's going to be another left-handed bat, which we need more of. The team got so much better when we had Rizzo and Gallo. Even when they weren't performing, just having a left-handed bat in that lineup was massive for us.
Oh yeah.
So I'm getting Olson, and I'm moving away Voit there. So if we have him, he's just a permanent DH. We talked about this. We got to shuffle players around. We have to have the DH changing every day, keeping players healthy while still playing. Then I'm getting Carlos Rodon if I can. He didn't get a qualifying offer, which I'm shocked about. I mean, 18.4 million. I think that's what a qualifying offer is. They think he's worth less than that.
Kershaw didn't get one either.
Yeah, there's still great pitchers you can get here. We need a second ace.
Yeah, if you can get him, and let's just say you get Rodon and Trevor Story, and then you make a Matt Olson trade, and you get Matt Olson and Sean Manaea somehow. Personally, I don't want to give up Luis Hill unless I'm getting a starting pitcher back in return. So if I could do that. So if you get Olson and Sean Manaea or Frankie Montez or whatever you get, and you're swapping pitchers. So if you trade per pitcher and sign a Rodon, then you're adding two starters to the stable here. And I've always said that for months now that we need 2 starters this offseason because there's always guys that go down. So the Yankees seem to have more starting pitcher injuries than almost every team in baseball. So for some reason or another. So I think 2 starters would be a great idea. But like you said, you can get Suzuki, Story, and Rodon for the same price as Correa. 3 of those guys. That to me is great value.
Agreed.
That's value. So I'd rather go that route. And again, wherever Correa goes, if he goes to the Tigers, the Astros, whatever, fine. I hope he doesn't go to Boston, but I actually predicted him to the Phillies, and I can still see that happening. But we'll see. But that's kind of what I would do. And once the CBA, I'd be coming right out the gates like a racehorse, just phone calls after phone calls and making sure I have contract offers ready. I'll fax it to you right now. Okay, give me the number. And you want to get some guys in the stable because I have a feeling a lot of teams are going to be very aggressive right out the gates, and the Yankees are going to lose out on some players that they probably should have gotten before the CBA. So, and this is where the lack of activity, I think, potentially could hurt the Yankees. I hope it doesn't, but if it does, it's probably a reason why. So I would be as aggressive as possible coming out.
Yeah. And
once it's agreed upon and official, I'd be super aggressive.
Yeah, Yankees can still make this a fantastic offseason.
Yeah.
You sign Trevor Story, you sign Carlos Rodon, you sign Matt Olson, maybe trade for Aaron Bummer for the bullpen. Like, that team, that's unstoppable. You've increased your bullpen is probably the best in baseball there by a lot. You have one of the best first basemen in the league, who's also a left-handed hitter and plays good defense. You have another ace in the rotation, and he might even cost you less than $20 million a year. Like, sign me up for that. You get a shortstop like Story. You know, that's not the Corey Seager offseason or the Carlos Correa offseason. That's a winning offseason.
Yeah, it's a huge offseason. And Story is not going to require a 9 or 10-year deal like Seager did, so he's not going to tie you up for a long time. He might get a 5 or 6 year deal. I'd be okay with that. He's still young. He's still 29. So, and he's one of the more versatile, athletic shortstops. He can play other infield positions. And again, he's not going to block guys like Volpe. And if you have Volpe playing second, you have Story at shortstop, then you have like a guy like Oswaldo Cabrera being the super utility guy, who's an upgrade offensively over Tyler Wade. Then you have a nice kind of foundation of players here. You have Gio at third. You have Olsen at first. Like you've got a whole different team. And if you somehow get a Suzuki and move Hicks, like you have and Suzuki's 27, or going into his 27th season. Hicks is I think 31 now. So there's a little bit of an age difference too, and that's why between just like Olsen and Rizzo's 32, Olsen's 27. We get some youth here, we get some versatility, and we lock these guys up into long-term building blocks, and the Yankees would be set up nicely for the future.
Yeah. I think that the Yankees should try to, I know this is kind of crazy, but give Story like a 1-year, $40 million contract, because I think he got very unlucky in 2021. Like if you look at advanced metrics, he got unlucky. You watch him play, he got unlucky. I think that tanked his value. You say, hey, we'll offer you the same amount of money in one season that a team just offered you for 3. Then you're a free agent, and your value will be higher, and you can sign a higher contract. That works for the Yankees, so we get a good shortstop for a season. Then Volpe comes up and he rakes. Like I'm all for trying to get 1-year deals done here. Just reset luxury. Gonna have to pay Judge. If you can get a 1-year deal for one of these star shortstops, it's what you have to try to do.
Well, the only guy that I've heard being potentially open to a 1-year deal will be Story. And keep in mind, too, if Story gets a 1-year deal, plays extremely well, he's the top guy next year. He's not in a class of 5 different shortstops. He is the guy. So he can get a bigger deal potentially next year if he plays really well this year.
Yeah.
So that could be another way of angling it, too. He doesn't have Correa in front of him, Seager in front of him. He's going to get the big money as the shortstop. So
I'll be all over that then.
Yeah, I mean, I could see him getting a 1-year deal. I could also see him getting like a 5 or 6 year deal. If Simeon got 7, then I could see him getting 5 or 6. But again, he might be open to a 1-year deal as well. So, and I think he'd be pretty valuable here at the Yankees. And again, giving Volpe another season to kind of develop, and especially Oswald Peraza, if they don't move him in a trade for Olsen. If we get Olsen, I think Peraza is going to go, unfortunately. But we still have Osvaldo Cabrera, and they've got Trey Sweeney developing. They're projected to sign Roderick Gary. So they are strong up the middle one way or another. So this is almost like that 5 superstar shortstop free agent class. You're going to have 5 of them themselves.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you gotta try to trade some of them.
You trade from depth, just like the Marlins could trade from their pitching surplus to address other positions. So that's what teams do.
Yeah.
And that's how the Padres got all these starters. And they traded from depth in their farm they got like all the top starters. So, and they didn't even have Mike Clevenger this year. They traded from the year before from Cleveland. They're going to have him next year. So that rotation is going to be even stronger. So, yeah. But that's what teams do. And especially if guys are blocked by major leaguers, it makes sense to move them in trades. But and something I've always felt with too, like anytime a team drafts a player, I think teaching him to play a second position is a valuable thing to do because it makes him not only more versatile to the team, but it makes him more attractive in trade packages. Well, this guy can play infield and outfield. He can play second and third. Like, it makes him easier to trade if they go down that route, but it makes him more valuable to the team that drafts him too because there's always a need somewhere. And if a guy learns a second position, that's how much more valuable they become instead of kind of a one-sided player. So I would be doing that more often if I were the Yankees.
Exactly. It's versatility. It's underrated in this game.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
that's my take.
Thank you for coming on. If you haven't already, subscribe to 161 River Avenue's channel. Yeah. Thank you for coming on. I hope you enjoyed this video. And subscribe to his channel also. Very good content.
And happy holidays, buddy.
Yep, happy holidays.